minimalistic.
Really, that's impressive because this game is very minimalistic.
Yep, you know, the first version was just a square 3x3 and 3 knights each, and trying to block the opponent, and that's all. But in fact, it doesn't work, you know, because it's just like tic-tac-toe. There is a way, you know, this. It was a second player wins all the time, so
Right.
it was very interesting. But the original idea was this: I wanted to make something extremely basic, and then I had this on my shelves for years. And I think a few years later, I thought, okay, but maybe I just have to make the board larger and add more pieces, and then it worked.
Oh, that's a very fun little design. It's nice. You can put it in your pocket basically and carry it with you and play it anywhere. I like that one. I could talk to you for hours, and I know you have to get going, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But let's talk about some of the games that you have coming out. We mentioned Mission Red Planet, so Fantasy Flight's putting out a new version of that, correct?
Yes.
And I believe Queen's Necklace is getting a new treatment.
Yes. Queen's Necklace is made now by Cool Mini or Not.
Oh, that's wonderful news because that is a great game that had been out of print for a long time and was incredibly expensive if you wanted to get a copy.
They have made a completely different graphics, and lots of people don't like them. I think they are quite nice, but they are, you know, very cartoony. It's not something it's not the stylish style of the old edition, so I'm not sure everybody will like it. But we've added lots of, I think, interesting cards in it. So it's lots of. I think the game is better now.
Okay, so it's reworked a little bit. It's not exactly the same as the original.
Not as much as Mission Red Planet, but it's reworked a little bit. Another reprint that is coming soon will be Chaos.
Yes.
Which by White Goblin. And it's great because, you know, I think the first edition was ugly, was not really well distributed, and it went completely under the radar. So I'm really glad that there's a new version of it.
I read that on your website. You were talking about it a little bit on there about how you guys were kind of shocked when someone wanted the game because you didn't think anybody actually knew what it was.
Yeah.
it sounds very interesting. So that's a tile laying game, correct?
Yes, it's a 2-player tile laying game that I made with Serge Lager, and it's kind of, you know, strategic but very intricate with lots of different movements, and I like it.
Okay,
we will see.
and you were demoing one at Gen Con, Raptors, right? Which I think might also be designed. Was that designed with
yes,
with Bruno
Raptors,
Cathala?
it's made with Bruno Cathala, yes.
Yes. Okay. And tell us a little bit about Raptors. I'll tell you this much. Anytime I see somebody that makes a 2-player specific game, I get excited because I do a lot of 2-player gaming. So I'm like, hey, this one's 2 players designed by the 2 Brunos. That count me in already. I could send you money now if you want.
Oh, yeah. You know, I think it's mostly designed by the other Bruno. In fact, I more or less had the original idea, and then he made the game.
You still get your name on the box. It counts.
Because sometimes he works too fast, and he had too many ideas.
Too many ideas. I would like to have that problem at some point in my life.
But it's a 2-player asymmetrical game where, you know, one player has a mummy raptor and baby raptors, and another player has a scientist who want to capture the baby raptors. And mummy raptor has to protect her babies and make them escape into the deep forest. So if 3 baby raptors escape, raptor player wins. And if the scientist manages to capture 3 baby, he wins. And so there are rules, you know, for making the babies sleep, and mama comes here and tries to wake them up and to carry them, and you can use fire and everything. It's very thematic, and I think it's fun. It's very, very fast paced. I think it will be a middle-sized box with lots of components, lots of stuff.
Okay.
But in fact, it's a 15 minutes game.
Okay.
With a very nice action system, you know, where both players play an action card which also has a value face down, and then they are revealed, and the player who plays the lowest value cards makes the action, and the other players has a difference between the values in action points that he can use to move. And it makes for some very, very interesting decisions, because there are only 9 cards in each deck, so you know what cards your opponent has left.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very challenging, I think.
So it sounds like a game that has a fun, cute theme to it, but underneath it, there's a lot more game to it.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting game. I have also games coming out that I've designed with Eric Lang.
Really?
One will next year, which I don't know what will be the setting. I don't know what will be the name, but we're starting to work seriously on it.
Okay.
And which is based on a prisoner's dilemma, which is very interesting. And another, which is one more, hidden identity game, which I think it was quite fun as well. I have a small card game coming out. I think it will be in France and probably in the US. Probably it's Wakatanka.
Okay.
Which is kind of an advanced version of bullshit, if you've played.
Yep.
It's bullshit, but it's more sophisticated. There are some tricky moves that you can do here and there. But at the heart, it's advanced bullshit.
How many players for that one?
3 to 6.
Great. Because my old lunchtime group where I used to work, they still play games without me, and they really like games like that. Perfect.
I have Argo with Serge Gagé, which is another tile-laying game where you are trying to escape the space station, which is invaded by aliens.
Wow, so you're very prolific. How many games are you aiming to put out a certain number every year, or do you have a goal for yourself, or do you just pitch demos and hopefully people like them?
Yeah, I just make the game I like to play, and when I have ideas, and I hope that someone will like them. I'd say I have an average of 2, 3, 4 games published every year.
Okay.
But it's not something I aim at. It just happens. There are years where it's more, there are years where with fewer. So I'm looking at the list on my website. In 2012, I had only 2. 2013, I had only 3. Last year I had 4, and I think this year it will be 5 or 6.
Okay, so you're making up. You're getting the average back up there.
Yeah.
So speaking of your website, now, you had one of the most wonderful resources on the internet for board games in the Faidutti Ideal Game Library. I looked at that page more times than I care to admit, because that would mean that I wasn't doing work at my job, but instead looking at your website. So what happened to the Ideal Game Library? Because I think that was such a wonderful resource, and you turned me on to some very good games, like Hornet, for example, that I never would have found if not for your library. What happened to that, and are you going to bring it back?
No, I didn't keep the file, so I don't. I can't. Even if I wanted to, I cannot bring it back because I don't have the files anymore. I don't have the text. I don't have anything. And, I think it wasn't possible anymore for me to make something like this because, it's from a time where there were not that many games published every year,
Sure.
It was possible for one single guy like me to not to know everything, but to know more or less about everything.
Uh-huh.
And now, there are 10 times, 20 times more games.
Right.
And it's not possible anymore. So it doesn't make sense to keep, it didn't make sense to keep it like it was, with all the game from this old period and just, one here and there from the more recent times. Sure. And also I was a bit blocked because, I knew that lots of people like this website, like my Ideal Game Library, were asked me to bring more games in it. They wanted me to add more games. So it was becoming kind of work. I had an obligation to play new games and to find 1 or 2 good new games every month. And I didn't like this, so I prefer to just start something new, just more classical blog. Also, it had a kind of an encyclopedical structure. It means it was not structured by time. It was just alphabetical order.
Right.
You didn't know when a game was put in. And this sounded okay when I started to do it. And 15 years later, it made no sense because there were games from 15 years ago and comments which were absolutely not what I thought now. There were even games which I even didn't remember playing. I think it was becoming really, not only the database was becoming obsolete, but the way I had dealt with it was obsolete.
Okay. All right. Well, that's, for what it's worth, if anybody wants to look, if you Google the Faidutti Ideal Game Library, there are some web servers that keep caches of old websites. So your pages still exist, even though you don't host them. They're still out there. And I did find them, and I was looking through it before we got on here.
I know it's possible to find some.
So if anybody listening to this that wants to look it up, just Google it and you can find it. And there's some good stuff on there. And I said, you did turn me on to some really awesome games that I wouldn't have found any other way. So before I let you go, I have 5 questions that I ask everybody that comes on the show. So I'm going to ask you these 5 questions. And then you can tell folks how they can get in touch with you on social media and the address to your website and that sort of thing. All right? So,
okay.
Question number 1. Would you rather play a game that you love with people that you don't like, or a game that you hate with people that you like to hang out with?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, that's the only kind of questions I ask here.
I'd rather play games that I hate with people that I like. I remember when Ticket to Ride was just out and I was at a game convention, I really wanted to play the game. And I saw in the game I wanted to play one of the 2 or 3 guys in the game business, which I really hate. And I went away. I said, okay, I play it another time. So.
Boy, I would love to know who that person is, but I don't expect you to tell us. That's okay. Okay, question number 2. What is the best game that you've played this year that you didn't design?
Best game I've played this year that I didn't design. I think it's Codenames.
Really?
By Bruno Faidutti. Yes.
Yeah, that game is getting a lot of press. What do you like about Codenames? It seems to be something that people in general are really liking. I'm curious what your take is on it.
I think it's a gamer's version of Taboo. I love Taboo.
Oh, yeah. I love Taboo too. Isn't that game great? I've seen sillier things happen playing that game than almost anything else. So this is the gamer's Taboo, huh? Codenames?
Yeah, I think, yes.
Okay. All right. So do you have any one particular gaming experience that sticks out to you, either good or bad? See, tough questions, right? This is an award-winning podcast.
But a bad experience is trying to play Civilization, the old Avalon Hill game in the 80s. I had a few friends who loved this game, and regularly they wanted me to play this game. And I always had the same feeling that it was a game playing all by himself.
Really?
All by itself. I just had to, I take half an hour to find out the best move, then I do it. The game can play by itself. It didn't really need any player. And they all wanted us to play this again and again. And I hated this game.
And it takes a very long time too. It's not like you're tolerating it for an hour. You're tolerating it for 8 hours.
Yeah, I think I played it because I knew it was the way to lose them in playing games of Cosmic Encounter or Heron or Scotland Yard later.
So you traded 8 hours of your game time for 1 hour of theirs. I think you lost out in that trade, my friend. Any good experience that really sticks out to you?
Any good experience?
I'm sure you have tons. Yeah, people you've worked with, and I'm sure the people that you game with, there must be so many.
I don't know. Lots of good experiences. And I can say a new one way. I think what is nice is when people on the game fair come to see me and tell me and bring me a game which I don't see